look at that just before the whistle. Might make the difference. Don't know, then it's going to be close. Is there any worse ones still in here?
Most of them are gone. So you're on the fly.
Oh, not again. 3 times on the trot. Hi everyone. So I welcome you today down on Makins Fishery on the Wednesday match on Lake 2. Today it's going to be a live. I've got a cameraman filming me now. It's going to be behind me all day, through the day, just seeing the way I actually fish, the way I fish this lake. So it's a Wednesday midweek match, which is run every Wednesday obviously, but I like to come here in between my working days just to chuck the feeder really, and my record speaks for itself. I win more than anyone else on this lake comfortably by just fishing that, so I don't see any need to change. So today I've drawn peg B13 again, which is the last 3 times I've fished this lake in the past month. I've had B13 3 times and I've drawn B11 the other time, which is a real poor area of the lake to be fair. But saying that, I've won 2 matches off B13, 2 of the matches, because I've been helped out by a bit of wind that's blowing down into the lake, into my, the area. So hopefully there's a bit of wind today coming down towards me. It's not as strong as I'd like it to be, but hopefully it will pick up in the day. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Where I've drawn, it's not the best sort of area for chucking over, tight to the bank. There's a lot better pegs, but really want to be catching down the edge in the last few hours if I'm going to do any damage. So that's basically where I've drawn and where I am. We'll get back to my peg and I'll show you how I'm going to tackle it. The way I'm going to set about tackling this peg, which is B13 on Lake 2, is I've not got no pole set up. Just come down here to fish the method during the summer months. The results speak for themselves, so obviously not doing anything wrong, and I'm really confident with fishing the feeder, and I like doing it. So I've drawn B13. We're in a bit of a bay. It's not the best peg on here by any stretch of imagination. But for my first 3 hours, I'm going to be using a 30-gram feeder in a large size, the ICS design with elasticated stem. And I'm going to be casting as tight as I can from the overhanging branches, just to the right of that falling in deadwood, just to the left there. And I'm going to be aiming to get as tight as I can to the bank. And that's going to be for the first 3 hours of the match. And just really see how it goes. In that time I expect to catch not a lot of fish, decent fish every now and again. It's probably hopefully get me up to 40-50 pound before the final 2 or 3 hours of the match. So I aim to fish the feeder tight to the bank for the first 3 hours of the match, and then when that time comes where it's probably dying or it's time to move on to into the edge, that's when I'm going to start feeding it. I'll be feeding it heavily with soaked fishery 2mm micros to my left. I've caught a lot of fish there in the past, when I've drawn this peg, and to do well on this peg I really need to catch in the margin later. So I'm hoping, we've got a bit of breeze blowing in now, and I'm hoping that's going to get stronger in a day, which will help bring the fish in with it. So they're my 2 things. I'm going to start for the first 3 hours tight to the island, picking an odd fish up, and hopefully have a good finish down in my left margin. I'll just be fishing straightforward method feeder tactics. I've not got a pole set up. I've got 2 rods set up, one slightly longer than the other, to fish tight to the island. Obviously a longer cast, quite a good chuck here because you're into the bay, with a 30 gram ICS feeder on, large size. The fish are quite big in here, so you've got to give them something to eat now that we're in the month of August, nearly September. The water's nice and warm. But for my margin swim, I've got the 11-foot Superior X, lovely rod for short range fishing. And I'm just going to be feeding heavily with 2 mils there and fishing over it with a 20 gram small ICS feeder. Both the feeders have got elasticated stemming. I prefer to use elastic on this lake when I'm fishing the method. And they've both got a 0.19 3-inch hook length to a KKH 16 hook 3-inch, which are just connected onto the elasticated connector. The bait I'll be putting on the method is just soaked 2 mils, fishery 2 mils. I've prepared them before I left the house this morning. I prepared them in a bucket. I take the water out of my koi pond, just level them with water, and then once I get to the peg after my draw, they've soaked it all up, and then I just add some Sonu baits, pellet and ground bait binder, roughly about an egg cup full to each bag. I've got 3 bags soaked up because I'm going to use quite a few for my margin fishing, and also the large feeder. I need to be casting accurate, or even though I'm only catching a few fish at the island, I still need to be casting fairly accurate, you know, to have a chance of catching some nice big fish. You too, mate. So the whistle's just gone, so I'm just going to bait up and cast out to the island using a 30 gram feeder. First few casts may not go really where I intend, but after a while I'll get the grip. Hopefully get some decent casting in. It's not going to help with the cameras behind me. Need concentration, but I'm sure I'll get to grips with it. So first cast no good, which is normal. Just got to get your bearings with the line that I've clipped up. Just hooking a 4mm Pro expander on, not using a hair rig. And the large size method feeder. Better. Just over clipped slightly, so because the weight's different with the bomb that I've clipped up with, I'm needing to unclip and just wind a couple of turns on the reel because the extra weight of the feeder, and I've got one already. Better get that clipped up. Just gone for that rubbish. So that's a good start. First decent cast. Got one on already. Just checking the drag on my reel. Feels about right. You might be having You might be hearing a strange noise. It's not me. The fishery team's doing a bit of maintenance on Lake 4, which is a lake in front of us. And they've got what you call a flailing mower, which is on the end of the arm of the machine, the digger machine. And although they're doing a great job cutting all the bankside vegetation down, maybe interfering with the sound a bit. So apologies for that. Not a big fish, but first cast it, we're only in a few seconds. It's not going to be like that all day, I can assure you. So just making the most of every fish you catch from here, really, these early stages of the match. And hopefully get some nice big fish at the end in the margins. So same process for the first 3 hours really, before I start thinking about switching to the edge. It's important to get your line just as the feeder's landed, get your rod on the feeder arm, get all the line under the water, and I'm ready for a bite. Wasn't the best cast that, decent, but as I say, the first half a dozen casts or first however many are just to get your distance right with the extra weight of the feeder before you get into the rhythm and hopefully start catching a fish now and again. That's all it's going to be. And depending on when I get the bite is going to depend on how often I recast. So I'm going to start by leaving it in about 5 minutes for a start, 4 or 5 minutes, and recast then, unless I get a bite quicker than that. And just see how the fishing goes. You know, it looks like a bite. I've got another one. That's brilliant. 2 and 2 casts. It's a bigger fish, this. It's really important. I've not actually got a bare bank there because the fishery team been so busy that they've not been able to do the maintenance on the island. So I'm just having to plop it, just touching the reeds as the feed hits the water. Goes a bit bigger, this does. So 2 fish and 2 casts providing to get it in. Taking my time, never been one to rush fishing. Elasticated feeder on, so it's doing most of the work for me, that 3-inch piece of elastic. Bit bigger than the last one. Well, it's not massive, but 7 or 8 pound hopefully. Oh, nice looking fish. Well, that's 2 fish in 2 casts. It's a great start. Hopefully it's going to continue like that. It won't, but if I could keep putting fish in the net now and again, this early stage, it'll be a winner. So I'll come back to you in about an hour's time and see how it's going. So that's the hour over, hourly update. Although it started really good, I can't actually believe that I had 3 fish in the first 3 casts. And since then it's been expectedly poor, which, you know, I knew it would be like that. But the only other signs I've had is no liners at all. Not had a liner yet, just 3 bites. But I had a bite, looked like a proper bite. A fish on. This is about 15 minutes after I caught them first 3, and it got me stuck under obstruction under the island. There's lots of rubbish, just look where the fish wants to go, and they pulled out the fish and there was a scale on the hook, so obviously foul hook, so I wasn't that bothered about losing that. And I don't know, half an hour passed after that and I had a proper bite. Fish was on, got it halfway back and it's come off. So I'm still on 3 fish for, I'd say I got around about £15 with the 3 fish. Nothing's been caught as far as I can see on the bee bank. I can't see everyone, but I know full well that Rick to me left has had 1 carp, guy to me right's not caught. And it'll be the same like that all the way down the bank, I would have thought, in these early stages. My mate Bruce, the guy dead opposite, where you want to be really. I mean, that's where I was hoping to draw. He's got a fish on now, he's probably got 5 fish. So it looks like I'm going to be struggling to win at these early stages. But I'm still confident. You know, I've fished this peg many times and along this bee bank, time after again, and this is typical of the first hour. You catch a few early on and then there's nothing, not even any signs. When I'm winding my feeder back, there's no signs of fish bow waving out the way, closer in, down the middle. But by constantly making sure your casting's really good and timing your casts to when you think you should be recasting, I'm sure within another hour we'll start seeing a few more signs, hopefully catch a few more fish before I need to start properly feeding my left hand edge. Threw a bit of bait in there, just a bit, just to keep my mind occupied, but I'm not going to feed there properly until the time's right. So our update, 3 fish for around about £15. This is key, just staying on the feeder, not getting the pole out, staying on the feeder, keep leaving that bait there after every cast, and when the fish are ready, they come to it. They're just not ready for feeding yet. The day's got to wear on a bit. There's not a lot of room you can go. If you've got the room like the guy there has, then yeah, you might go, you know, down towards that tree, or I might have even tried down the edge there, but I've not got the room to do it here. Anything you can get in this first 3 hours, you know, if we do catch down there, then that'll make the difference at the end. But I'm only fishing for this bank, you know, for a bit of prize money. I mean, that's all right peg, but A15s and A20 are absolute flyers, so it pans out right the way he pays it out, because they normally take the prize money, you know, someone will win on that bank most of the time, but you still got something to fish for along here. It's bang on really. At one time there was no vegetation on the bank, and there's a rail, and you could get right tight to that, but it makes it hard. You can get close enough really, because it's shallow, the island's shallow here, it gets deeper down there. Pole's good, pinging in the winter. When it cools down, when it's warm, the fish are at the island or they're down the edge, and that is it. You'll catch skimmers out there on a long pole, but you know, you're not going to do anything. You should be fishing the method over there, waiting for them to turn up. Else you're not feeding your peg where the fish are. It is, that's why I like it so much. It's good casting, method feeder fishing. That's what I do. So for the second hourly update, things haven't really improved at all. In fact, they've got worse. But just a minute ago, although I'm fishing slack, there's no bend in my rod whilst I'm waiting for a bite. I noticed the line, it just dropped back to a bit more. So winded the reel and there's still no tension there. And the fish has picked the bait up and come towards me without even giving me an indication at all, and it feels a decent fish. And it's just through persevering with good casting, and hopefully there'll be a few more fish stop at where I'm casting. So there's only 2 hours gone, so hopefully I'll get this one out, be fish number 4, which will take me up to £20. But it's hard to believe just how the weather is and the conditions, overcast, mild, bit of wind blowing down this end of the lake, how hard the fishing actually is. Typical of Lake 2 a lot of the time, I suppose. Well, it's just sticking to the things you know, hopefully catching odd fish through the day until either the island swim picks up properly or they come in this edge peg that have started to prime already. Actually, I said I wasn't going to feed it until halfway through, but the fishing's been so poor that it's just given me something to do whilst waiting for a bite. But if we get this one out, it'll be the biggest fish of the day so far. Trying to get under the net. I don't want to be losing it, how few and far between they are. It's often the case you get a drop back bite and it's a bigger fish. I think it just must be the way they pick the bait up and everything goes slack. Half the time the fish don't know it's hooked. Keep out of the way of that platform. Obviously there's no point bullying it, how few and far between they are. Just got to try and make every fish count. It's a nice fish. So with that one in the net, I'll catch back with you for the third hourly review. So because things are so slow, and what's worked for me before when it's been like this, is to drop down feeder size. I'm still using the same weight, but I've slipped the 30 gram large feeder off for a 30 gram small, and my aim is to chuck in twice as often, just to see if I can spark a few fish into feeding. There's obviously a few fish over there, even though I'm getting no liners. I've just had a nice fish out of the blue. So anything's worth trying. It possibly won't work, especially that was probably the worst cast I've done there. This is the first cast I'm trying it. But by fishing this way, I'm casting twice as often, but I'm still putting the same amount of bait in, just to show the fish something different. A lighter, smaller plot, twice as often, might bring some fish in. That's one reason why I never really fish the middle of these lakes. You know, it's always tight over or the edge. And I think it's best to leave any fish that are down the middle just to let them be. And when they're ready to feed, and I'm sure that's when your peg gets going, the fish should just move from the middle to the far bank and the side. You know, those fish come obviously from somewhere, and that's what I think's happening, because they've just been left alone. You know, until it's time for them to start feeding, and that's what they do. They just come either to your side or over at the far bank. So I'm going to give this half hour, casting more regular, load it up, cast it more regular, and just see if it sparks a few fish into feeding. So the time is now 2:15, so we're over halfway in the match, and things haven't improved at all, because the fishing's so poor up to now. I've started feeding my edge a bit earlier than normal, just by throwing a small handful of 2 mils to my left. I keep looking over the area, see if there's any signs of any movement, and I can't see as I've seen anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to carry on with this. I've put a big feeder back on, what I've caught my fish on. I'm going to have a few more casts on this, and then I'm going to have an early drop down the margin, see if there's anything there. I don't think there is, but if anything, it was just going to rest me island peg, which again is a change. It might do it some good. So until then, I'll just keep concentrating on my casting at the island and reeling in at regular intervals, hopefully to get ready for if and when the fish want to start feeding. I'm sure, as poor as it is, I'm leading the bee bank. Not that I can see anyone. I know the guy to my right still blanking. He's not had a fish, bless him. Rick to my left has had one decent carp and a couple of skimmers, and I'm not hearing anything else. So I imagine it's, although I'd sooner be down at the bottom end, I wouldn't imagine it's any better than here. My mate Bruce opposite, I can see him on the better pegs. He's just had 2 fish quite quick, so he's up to about 8 fish now, I thought. But I've also heard peg 20A on the A bank. Early on he'd catching quite well, so looks like most of the fish are where they normally are, between A15 and A20. So to win the match, it looks like you needed to be down there, early signs are saying. But you still never really know. If these fish come in the edge where I am, then you know you can come right back with a late spell of big fish. Also, the island might pick up. I just don't know yet, but it's not giving me any signs of improvement at the minute. So hopefully when I get back to you on the 4th hour update, things might have changed a little. So I'm just preparing my smaller ICS feeder on my lighter rod on the Superior X. Not squeezing it very hard. And I'm going to drop it down margin. I've been feeding for about an hour now. be as accurate as can, line up with a bit of an old post that's coming from the platform next door, and I'm going to hit that mark every time, just with a slight underarm drop like that. It's quite deep there, I'd say it's 4 foot. Don't really expect to catch anything yet, but you never know. And if anything, it's just giving me my island peg a rest. So I've used, believe it or not, I've used 2.5–3 litres of soap pellets just through the feeder alone at the island. So there's plenty of bait there to be left there. Fish want to move on it. So the way I'm fishing this edge peg with the method, caught lots of fish, and it's a winner. You know, if the fish turn up, it's better than fishing the pole. You just get no liners, you just get a bite, and they're all from big fish. So I'm fishing it, I'm not clipped up because I'm only fishing short. It's just a slight underarm swing, make it land really softly, exactly where I've been throwing these 2 mils in. You can see the feeder fizzing as the mix is breaking up. That gives you a target to throw the bait at. So you're fishing right over your feed with a method feeder, a small 20 gram size. And I'm fishing it really slack. I've got my rod higher than I was when fishing over at the island, and that gives me a slight bow in the slack line, and I can pick up on any movement at all on that slack line. Tells me if there's a fish there. But I'm not just going to drop in once and you know, not get a bite and then go back out there. I'm going to give it at least 2 or 3 drops right on top of one another, because there might be an odd fish there, and they're not going to come just to one drop in. You know, 3 drops close together and get a fish coming onto that area, and you'll catch one soon after you've dropped it in, you know, 2nd or 3rd time. So I'll give it 10 or 15 minutes here, and obviously if there's no signs of a fish, that's had that time to rest over at the island, and I'll be back out there. So an hour and a half to go, and things aren't looking good. Last update, I was just down the edge trying it for the first time, and although I got a few tiny plucks on the slack line going down to the feeder, nothing come of it. Probably gave it half hour there, 20 minutes to half hour, nothing happened. So decided, since my island peg had a rest, what the time was down the edge, I'm back out there now. I've been back out there for the last 45 minutes. And again, I've had a couple of tiny liners, and I did have a bite then, just before I've reeled in, my last time I've come back. I had a bite, I seen the fish move up to the island, but there was nothing on, so it's not hooked itself for some reason. Just going to try and cast this out as accurately as I can. Nice cast, right next to that bramble. Yeah, so I'm carrying on feeding my edge peg quite heavily now, because the time's coming when there should be a few fish showing in the edge. But to be fair, no one's doing anything in my area at all. Rick's had an extra carp to my left, so he's got 3 now, and I'm on 4, but I think one of his is bigger than me, so he might be beating me at this stage. The guy to my right's had 1 fish since my last update, so he's on just 1 carp. So really, things need to improve swiftly if I'm going to do any good. Again, my mate Bruce opposite is on there. It looks like peg 11A. Good peg, good all-round peg, especially when it's warm. He's beginning to catch quite well. Looks like he's mugging in the edge on about a 6 metre pole. And I'd say he's got around about 70 pound at this minute. I can't see Clive on peg 20A. He was winning it after 2 hours. I don't really know how many fish he's got, but he was catching well, I heard. So I'd say it's between them two at the moment, or I can't see 15A or even 13A. All good pegs, just getting a line in there. So, you know, I had a bite there just before I'd done the update, nothing was on, and I've had a liner there. So that's the most activity I've had within the last hour. So hopefully things improve, and probably next time I speak to you will be at the end, just after the whistle goes. So fingers crossed, let's hope things improve. So we're at 4 o'clock and I've finally had my first bite down the edge. Been feeding it ever since 2 hours in, to be fair, because the fishing's been so poor. So hopefully this is the first of a few to get me back in the race in the last hour. It's not a big fish, not like your typical wedge fish, but most welcome. Just before I had the bite, I started getting some liners on the slack boa line going into the water, knowing that there was a fish there. Sure enough, a proper bite. I've got one. So this will make it number 5. Well, I think I've still got a bit to do with them doing any good on this side. I've got no chance of winning the match. That's a certainty. So I know there's 2 people got approaching £100 on the A bank, but the B bank's been far worse today. I just hope there's still time yet to have a decent weight. Well, that's encouraging. I've got an hour to go. I've just had my first bite in the margin. Yeah, nice fish. So some of his mates are down there. So that's second fish down the edge with 45 minutes remaining, so it's not setting a light by any means. Decent fish again, a bit bigger than the last one. I've got to stand a chance of winning any reward. I need to catch another 3 at least down here, which is quite possible. It's only going to get better from now on. Wind's picked up a bit, more in my face, so it's all helping it. But as for the island swim, it just died a death. Well, I never caught them 3 fish early on in the day, looking like it was going to be really good, and had one other about an hour after the 3, and absolutely nothing in the middle. So I'm going to stay where I am for now, right to the end. Hopefully have a few more. It's important now there's fish there. Oh, I think there's a few fish there. Is to keep throwing this bait in. Hey, look, there's a big liner. It's not a bite. I think it is. No, it wasn't. just a big liner. So there's a few there now. You have to wait so long in the day. I mean, this is a 6-hour match. We've got 40 minutes remaining now. So it took 5 hours and 20 minutes to get anything like a bite. But other days, you catch within 2 hours of the start. I preferred it a bit windier than today, and would have made this edge peg a lot better. You want the cover of the wind, the rough water blowing into the margin. Gives the fish cover, feel braver and come in. Just trying to force it really by going in a bit more regular. You keep it accurate and the fish, it's quite a wide area I'm feeding, but if you keep it accurate, the fish will just come into that where the feeder's peeling on. Seems that I've just come out, the further I come out from the bank, the deeper it gets. And with it being so hard today, I've just caught that last fish just coming off the bank a bit, you know, in the deeper water. So that may be the best area to target. You just get lots of liners and foul hooking them. So until you witness it, you know, how good it can be, it just goes, you drop it in and you've got one straight away. You just get straight on it. See, there's some there, but there's not enough there for that to be happening. So just before I got this bite, the line we're giving it a few, you know, liners obviously from a decent fish. And sure enough, lovely bite. It's a great way of fishing this. Really enjoyable seeing that tip wrap around because it's such short distance between the feeder and the rod. You get a really exaggerated bite, but you really need to make sure you've either got a gripper rest on your handle or the butt rings just this side of the rod rest on the front, and then it's really hard for the fish to pull the rod in, you know, if you're not quick enough to grab the rod. But you've got to be on your toes. There's no, you know, halfway through a sandwich or pouring a cup of tea out, you're going to lose your rod. So as soon as I get this fish in, it'll be a couple more handfuls at 2 mils, roughly about where I'm plopping it. Not really had any proper fish today, so normally, you know, start getting them in the margin, they're £8 and over on this lake. But I'm sure as we go into the evening, the peg would just get stronger and the fish would get bigger. But obviously we finish at 5, so I've got a good half hour. Catch 1 or 2 more. Scored you. So we've got 4 minutes to go. Means we've got to get this in quick and get back in for another. Bite's coming quite fast now, but it normally takes more than 4 minutes. I don't want to pull too hard, else it's what normally happens. We all know that. I think my clock's a bit fast, so might be a bit longer than that. Do fight hard, these got this time of year. Always better off catching bigger ones, they don't fight as hard. So there you go, guys. I'm going to hold on to my rod while I do the final say about how the day's gone. You can see what's happening now. I'm getting lots of liners and indications. It just took too long for the fish to come, and it wasn't a lot better out there, to be fair. Just 4 fish in the first hour and a half, and that was the end of it. So I hope you've learned a fair bit from watching me. I think I've got one. Yeah, look at that, just before the whistle. Might make the difference for a reward. I can take my time with this because I'm not going to go in for another one. What a great method this method down the edge is. Okay, it can take some time to get them there, but supposing you're fishing the pole, you just get liners and there's more chance of losing a big fish because the elastic only stretches so far. But I've got 100-yard reel line on this reel, so it can run as far as it wants to without danger of getting broke. But it's really important to lash that bait in when you think the fish are there, and the fish just get bigger and the bites get faster. But it's generally always towards the end of the day. Just heard the whistle go there, so there's really no rush to play this fish in. Just going to make sure I get it in the net. So, although a really slow day in comparison to the ending, I've enjoyed it. It's been a great day. I've not drawn very good here. It's never the best, but I had a great day really. Largely saved by the last 40 minutes of the match, and I'd say I've got something like 50, 60, 70 pound if we get this one in, which is respectable weight on a peg like this, so I'm well pleased with a weight like that. Let's just hope I can get some sort of reward. He pays 2. If the winner comes on the A bank, which it will today, then he'll pay 2 on this bank. So be great if I can take something home with me. This one's on steroids. It's in its nose, that's why. So what's winning this B side then, John?
65.
65? Yeah. It's going to be close. What are you laughing at? There's not much in this.
$28.4. So what does he need now? So
Don't know, then it's going to be close.
just call it 60. Yeah, there's about 40 odd in there, isn't there?
Really, really close, ain't it?
What does he need? 38. Oh, you pissed that.
38? Is that all I need?
I think you've done it, ain't you?
Hard luck if I have.
You got 4. You got.
Quick before they dry out.
You got 44 in there, I reckon.
Oh,
That's enough, isn't it?
Oh, it's just got enough. £40.11. No, I didn't answer you, Clive. No, sorry. I didn't hear you.
yeah, one fish in it for most of the old bank, isn't it?
62, so one fish could have just...
So we've all weighed in, and believe it or not, as hard as it's been, I've won the B bank. So I couldn't have done any more than that. On the A side, if you fish late to yourselves, you'll know the A side is always consistently the best. The match has been won with £140, so it's more or less, well, more than double any of the weights on this side. But the B side's been a really close section. There's been 4 of us on £60 and I've had 68 just to win. So to just sum my match up, really hard on the feeder. I'm lucky to catch 3 in my first 3 casts. I thought it was going to be a really good day, but it just went to nothing. I caught 1 more carp on the feeder, chucking as tight as I can. Because the wind's not been too strong, I've had a really good casting day and the fish still ain't really bothered to feed. So I fish this a lot, and this bank is really good for margin fishing. So I've primed that from sort of halfway through to the end. I fed a bit early on because I was that bored, you know, nothing happening. And yeah, the first fish I had was an hour to go, just plopping the method down to my left in about 4 foot of water, and then it steadily got better to the end, and there was plenty of fish after the whistle, and that was the crucial fish that made me win the bank. So can't be bad. I'm really happy with, because the way it was going early on, I thought I was on hiding to nothing. So there you go, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Preston YouTube channel. So I'll see you next time.